Good evening, Devil's Lake.
Devil's Cattle.
Fucking A right it is.
Groovy. Hello, and welcome to another edition of the Knife Party Podcast, where we leave it all on the cutting room floor. I'm, of course, your illustrious... I can never say of course. I'm, of course, your illustrious host, of course, of course, Zach Evergreen, and today I am alone. However, I'm on X, so you never know. Some people might jump in who are notable. And I'm alone today because... I hate to tell you this, but one of our part-time co-hosts works in sales retail, and that's how you get sick all the time, is working with the general masses. So yes, it is me alone today. Now, Antonius Montana and I shall return next week. Big week next week. We got not only Friday the 13th, so I'm going to stop the bike on that. And that's going to be a X show, but we're also going to do Two Towers finally. It's going to be a review, not a watch along, like our fellowship was. And you might going, wait a minute, I don't remember a watch along in the fellowship. I'll tell you why. It's because you haven't went to Knife Party Pod at the Patreon. That's patreon.com/Knife Party Pod for only $5. Because I got 5 kids to feed. You can join our channel. Not only will you get the show early and often, and ad-free except for my live reads, you will also get Slime Wreck Radio, your community talk radio, done weekly on X. You will also get Midnight Ramen, a show that I have resurrected, a nerdy game show, talking a lot of JRPGs right now, so it's a lot of fun. We just did Octopath Traveler. And also you get Knife Party After Dark, and that's stuff I can't air on here, such as watch-alongs, because they have copyright material. So there you go. Do you really want New Line Cinema suing the shit out of me? No, you don't. Okay, that's my curse word. I'm trying to watch the potty mouth. Watching the potty mouth and watching the drinking at the same time is very hard. It's a difficult balance. I don't know if you guys can deal with that. Today we're doing something a little different because I actually watched 2 movies this week with no intention to review them, because I was all stoked for, of course, Two Towers, right? And I watched all 2 hours and 59 minutes of that. But I watched Jennifer's Body with my wife, and I watched The Fly 2, half of it with my wife until the dog scene, and then she left. Because I wanted to watch The Fly 2 and Jennifer's Body, just happened to be free. And so I'm going to review them both. And seeing how I'm alone, usually my alone episodes are only like 35, 40 minutes. I got the the internet dude coming in about 45 minutes, and he's going to upgrade us, which is going to be awesome. So, even though we've been in the red, not in the black recently, I'm still upgrading the studio, if it were. So high-speed internet is a-coming, or higher-speed internet. So where to start? So I flipped a coin, and I picked tails, get it? Jennifer's Body won. So we'll stick with that. So Jennifer's Body. And by the way, it's going to be kind of like an appetizer for what I really want to talk to, which is The Fly 2, The Fly 2 is amazing. So Jennifer's Body is a super, super cult phenomenon right now, especially with females in the horror fam, if you will. I'm looking right now on Rotten Tomatoes. And, oh, by the way, did you know, as of like very recently, they just invented the popcorn meter? You can actually be a part of the popcorn meter for free. It used to be you actually had to be you had to have some credentials. Now you could just, whatever. So I signed up and I rated it. So anyway, it got a 46 on the tomato meter and a 35 on the popcorn meter. Jennifer's Body did. Course came out September 18th in 2009. I don't know why I said of course. It is a horror comedy and it stars Megan Fox, her only good acting, I'm pretty sure. It also has Amanda Seyfried, which is Needy, who is actually my favorite character in Mean Girls. So therefore, she's cool in this too. You also have Joy Simmons, who's Chip, who's also Young Neil, and of course Scott Pilgrim. And then you have Adam Brody, who plays like the emo dude in the band Low Shoulder, which, by the way, Low Shoulder is pretty cool. But hold on, one of the reasons why we like this movie so much is this stupid song, I believe, correct? I mean, this song is hilariously good. Like, I at least I think so. God damn, do I? You know what? I want to review this movie just like with Low Shoulder playing in the background. Why not? Right? All right. So anyway, here it goes. So this movie is kind of like after just reviewing, I'm going to so get copyright flagged on this for YouTube, but fuck them. This movie is almost just like Ginger Snaps in a way, with the exception of that Jennifer is already a popular girl, right? And then you have her nerdy friend who's kind of like plain Jane, girl next door, but they've been friends forever. And apparently they have like some kind of, background of experimentation. We don't know. But anyway, so yeah, like I said, the movie is definitely in that genre of like it's not. I'm not gonna say it's like The Craft, but it's like The Craft kind of started the female Lost Boys as I described, and then they kind of said like, you know what, it's better to focus on one friendship. And Ginger Snaps does this in the year 2000. This did this, and there's a couple other ones too. I mean, like this kind of does scream. Oh shit, I love the song though. Hold on. God bless emo, right? Actually, when emo came out, I fucking hated it. I still fucking hate it, but this song is amazing because I think it knows it's retarded. So, breathing now, I'm still here, breathing now. I gotta admit, the song is catchy. Feel free through the trees. Oh man, and someone made a music video for this, and it's perfect. It doesn't even look like it's for a movie. It actually looks like it's for like this band as if it existed. Look up on YouTube Jennifer's Body Through the Trees by C/V. They only have 45 subscribers, so we'd probably be doing them a favor. In fact, I'm thumbs upping this right now, and it's got 27 comments. I'm gonna put one. You're live on your video is live on our podcast, and I love it. ... through the trees. Through the trees. Sorry, I'm typing at the same time. Cool. Comment sent. All right. See, that's what we do. We brighten people's lives here a little bit each day. Okay. Anyway. So, yes. Anyway, focuses on this friendship, which is kind of doomed by like the beginning of this movie. Anyway, like you could totally tell that there's a basically alpha beta there dynamic. So I just wrote down some funny notes in here. So in the beginning, there's a Fall Out Boy poster. So this totally just says like our target audience here. There's a really the chick that directed this, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, or wrote this rather. I'm actually going to do my due diligence on this. Karen Kuzma. So it looks like, what else did she do? Body Parts, which, if I'm not mistaken, is this like the horror movie Body Parts? Hold on. Oh, it's a documentary. Oh, fuck that. It's stupid. Girl Fight 7652 No, so it's not. So it's the person that wrote this, rather, is who I'm thinking of. The person that wrote this also did, I think, Hard Candy and a couple other like weird fucking films. Yeah, it says recommendations here. Gray's Teeth. Now, who wrote this fucking film? I'm not seeing anything. Why is this movie on Disney Plus? All right. I guess it's on Disney Plus. There you go. Well, I mean, it does sexualize, children. So it makes sense. Actually, it makes total sense why it's on Disney Plus. So there you go. Let me throw in some background music that's not through the cheese, shall we? Here we go. There we are. I knew something was off. Oh, see, now I got my groove back. All right. So anyway, this all takes place, well, at least, it takes place in an explanation of a story about how a person got there. So this is kind of like the Fight Club flashback humor, where we see Needy, who's the sidekick of Jennifer, or her best friend, rather, right? And she's known as a kicker. And why is because she's in a mental institute circa Dream Warriors. And she likes to kick people and stuff. Anyway, so it takes place in this called Devil's Kettle. Devil's Kettle is this suburban town, and it's got this weird glory hole. And what I don't mean glory hole like what you would find in a gentleman's bathroom, and in fucking south of Market, right? I mean, it's got a glory hole. Like if you ever see a reservoir, there's something in a reservoir called a glory hole. It's giant. It's a big fucking sinkhole. And anyway, all these scientists are throwing shit in there and like all these balls to try to see, because they don't know where it goes, which is a plot point, I guess. And anyway, so she kind of, starts telling the story of what happened, how she got here. I just wrote down some notes here because I was watching it, not really planning on doing a full review, and here we are. So so young Neil is salty. So salty is some of the phrasing, or rather slang in this movie is ridiculous. There's been a line that Jennifer actually says to like the goth kid later on, that I've been saying to my wife, and it's the worst word. It's when she says the word wetty. We'll get to that. Anyway, but salty means like a dude's hot. He's salty, anyway. For whatever reason, there's a green Jell-O reference in this movie. Don't know why. All the instruments, and this is something I always notice, and you probably notice too, when it comes to movies where if it's sponsored by Coke or Pepsi, it's rarely done subtly. The most subtle scene I've ever seen it done was in Terminator 2. Or actually Terminator 2, because there's only 3 scenes with Pepsi Cola, and they're totally facing. And like one of the worst ones would be Cobretti or Cobra, where there is a Pepsi and a Coke ad within the same movie, just in different areas. The beginning of the movie is sponsored by Pepsi, and the later movie is sponsored by Coke. I'm not even lying. Rewatch that movie. I think they ran out of money at some point. Anyway, all the instruments in this are Epiphone, which is a Gibson sub-brand subsidiary. So there you go. Fun little fact for you. Fire escape rope van. I don't even know. I written that down, but I that's very important. There you go. Boston Market ED rise scene. Oh yeah. So I know what they're talking about. Fire escape rope van. So there's a scene where Jennifer is like during the through the trees shit, like the club that they're at burns down, and she wants to like hang out in their party van, the band, I guess, for whatever reason. And this is when like all the shit goes bad. It's really dumb, but I think I wrote that down because I remember when I was in a band once, or more than once, but one time whilst in a band, I actually got invited to a party bus. However, I was the headlining act, and so it was all good, and I was safe. And also, too, like, we were way more metal than the other guys, so, you know, I wasn't going to get, like, you know, raped or turned into a succubi or incubi, for that matter. You know. But I remember hanging out in a party van, like, nothing good comes of that. It's usually you're drinking inside a van with carpet. God knows when's the last time the carpets were washed, so you're probably, you know, sitting on jizz, you know, even though it be dried. And smoking weed, and usually someone busts out some drugs, and then when you come out of the van, like 45 minutes later, and you're high as shit, and your bandmates are all pissed off, like, where were you, dude? Sound check, and we're like, sound check, whatever, we're fine. I believe we killed it that night too. I believe we did, because I remember going back to the party van, and I won't disclose what happened in there because I'm a married man. Anyway, yeah. So. Anyway, this is about the time where, you know, Jennifer becomes possessed. So there's like there's a scene that Evil Dead Rise totally borrows from this, and I don't mind it. But it's where Jennifer throws up all the black stuff and she starts eating the chicken. And I think this is Megan Fox's best acting, like, yet or ever. So kudos to her for this. I know everyone says she's a shitty actress. She's actually good in this movie. I don't know, maybe it's the writing. So anyway, this is when she goes on her, like, she realizes she's, you know, quote unquote hungry. And so she kills the foreign exchange student kid. We find out about this later. But then, like, this goth kid's like hitting on her, and or this emo kid rather. And Jennifer wants nothing to do with him until she finds out that Nettie actually wants some, like, he's like, he's really nice and I think he's cute and da-da-da. He's super salty. So anyway, she calls him over to, like, play house at these abandoned buildings. And on the phone, she goes, you give me such a wetty. Now, here's what I was talking about. My wife hates this. Hates it. Absolutely hates it. She was like, ew, wetty? Get out of here. And I was like, yeah. It's kind of hilarious. So now I use the term wetty all the time. And, yeah, she's not a fan. If you think girls hate the word moist, start using the word wetty around them. Now, by the way, this was written by a girl and directed by a girl, so I don't know. Maybe some girls are into their wetties. Can we just focus on the fact that the term wetty has been used, and I think invented in this movie? I don't think it's been used ever since, or anyway. Speaking of Evil Dead, there's a really cool scene where Nettie is wearing a Evil Dead t-shirt, and this is where Jennifer, like, you know, is all, like, hormoned up after eating the goth dude. And she comes over and like, says, like, let's play house or boyfriend, girlfriend and stuff, and get all nasty and stuff. Because, like, I guess whenever she eats somebody, she gets all horned up. And the funny thing is she's wearing an Evil Dead t-shirt, and she goes, are you wearing my Evil Dead t-shirt? And I don't know why, but the little comments like this make this movie what it is. So, did like that. Let's see. And of course, at the end, there's a low shoulder sign, which is hilarious. Now, the first time I watched this, for whatever reason, I did not see the end, because the end is where, well, what we think is there's a good, like, battle scene, right, where Nettie's waiting for her. And it explains kind of how Nettie goes to the insane asylum. She actually kills Jennifer with a box cutter, which is hilarious because she goes, like, do you know what this is? It's for cutting boxes. And she goes, oh, you get all your weapons from Home Depot? How butch, right? Anyway, it's hilarious, though, cutting boxes. I don't know, I like that. Anyway, she stabs her through the heart, which kills her, blah, blah, blah. And she gets bit. She goes to the insane asylum, and now she has powers. And I turned it off the first time watching it, and then rewatching it this time, I didn't know that there was, like, a post-credit, or I thought that was kind of the end of the movie. But no. She actually, like, gets out of jail, she has hitchhikes, and that's when you see the low shoulder, and that's when I turned it off the first time. This time watching it with my wife, she goes, no, there's more movie. I go, there is? I just figured that was the end of the movie. She goes on a revenge tour and like kills every member of the band Low Shoulder, which is pretty awesome. And it's pretty gruesome, and it's done with like the CCT footage. Really nice touch. So that bumped this movie up for me, because originally I was going to give this movie like a 65, but the ending alone bumped it up. So here's what it got. Tomato Meter got it 46. Popcorn Meter gave it 35. I'm giving it a 73. I was going to give it a 72, but my wife kind of convinced me 73. In fact, yeah, my first viewing, I said 73, second viewing, 72. So, yeah, there we go. All right. All right, let's wash our hands of this movie as we're going to go into The Fly. Of course. We've all seen The Fly, but have you ever seen The Fly Part 2? A lot of people haven't. I recommend you see it. So let's talk about The Fly Part 2, by the way. So The Fly 2, I got way more notes on this one, by the way. So starting at the top of our Rotten Tomatoes, 33 on the tomato meter and 24 popcorn meter. So it got even less than Jennifer's Body, and I think this is really, really sad. It stars Eric Schultz as Martin. He kind of gets typecasted a little bit. He was like a teen throb kind of guy for a minute, until like he was in Butterfly Effect in another movie where they kind of made him a child molester kind of dude, and I think he had a hard time shaking that off, because yeah, anyway. It also stars Daphne, I don't even know how to say her name, Zuniga, Zuniga. She plays Beth. She's also probably most notable. You know her from Spaceballs. I know a lot of people listen to this goddamn show love Spaceballs. It's got Lee Richardson as Bartok, who is mentioned in the first movie, but we actually never see. And then John Getz, who is Stathis. He's actually the only character who really reprises his role. So I remember this movie growing up, and I remember renting it right when it came out. And this movie is very fucking cool. And believe it or not, it's directed by Chris Walas, Walas, pronounced Waylwaws. Anyway, he was actually Cronenberg's right-hand man on the set of The Fly, and he also did Gremlins and other things, too. So I'm going to give you the plot synopsis of this in just a second. First, I'm going to give you a little bit fun facts about this movie. I got a lot more. Thank you, Minty. Minty actually did an episode on this, and I know you go, why do you always just rip off his shit? Well, it's because he gave me permission to. And I actually trust Minty, and he's funny. That's why it's called Minty Comedic Arts. Go check him out on YouTube. I totally recommend it. Tell him Knife Party sent you. There's a difference between plagiarism and, respecting the guy so much that you shout him out. And I'm of the latter. So thank you, Minty. Okay, so Fly 2, 1989. It only made $38.9 million. And I say only because this was on an undisclosed budget. I'll get to that in a second. And the first one made, I think, 60 and change. And the first one with Jeff Goldblum, Gina Davis is obviously considered a masterpiece. I consider it a masterpiece. One of the best body horror movies ever. There would be no Saw. There would be no Hostel. There would be no anything without The Fly. The original Fly, I'd say the original Fly, the original Thing, even though The Fly came later, those two movies like invented body horror, right? Or that crazy metamorphosis stuff, because we're not just talking about things like, in a slasher movie. We're talking about your body's actually physically changing from a virus or an unknown threat. And that's what makes The Thing and The Fly so good. Also, fun fact, they're both related in the fact that they are remakes. Also, really fun is that Cronenberg had something to do a little bit of both in the makeup department wise. Obviously, he didn't direct. That's why does that escape me? Oh, there's people screaming at me right now. John Carpenter obviously did The Thing. However, some of the makeup effect team were, in fact, the same on both. Anyway, so The Fly's success made this movie get greenlit and Jetpack on it. So when you hear the term jetpack, it's a wrestling term. It means that someone debuts and they don't know if he's going to be great or not, and they put a jetpack on him. They just give him the hugest push. Here goes some examples. Rock early on, when he was Rocky Maivia, they put a jetpack on him. They put a jetpack on Roman Reigns early on. Whenever they put a jetpack on somebody, usually the crowd does not like it, and this is a case of that. So The Fly had such a good success that they're like, hey, we're going to do a sequel right now. So who was in charge of this? Well, that being 20th Century Fox and Mel Brooks' studios. They greenlit this and they started production, and they even canceled other movies being made in order to push this one forward. Believe it or not, Sam Raimi was to write and direct. He even had his own script. Fox read the script and said it was way too weird, and they weren't touching it. After that, they would try to get Cronenberg, but Cronenberg was working on something else. And also, I think he just didn't want to be attached to something with the sequel. So I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but back in the day, being a part of a sequel, it wasn't like the Marvel Universe or whatever now, where it's like totally acceptable. Back in the day, it was not. It was frowned upon. Like sequels were frowned upon in a way. If you were a career dude, like for instance, if you're Steven Spielberg and you're doing like the Star Wars, or sorry, not Star Wars, Indiana Jones, for instance, or George Lucas or whoever did that. George Lucas, yeah, sorry, my bad. It's considered a series, so it's okay. But to do a part 2 just as a cash grab was very looked down upon. And I would say probably what changed that would maybe be Terminator 2. Maybe it was Star Trek's more of a series. But anyway, Terminator 2 was like the first one ever where Cameron actually where everyone came back, right? So I guess that kind of like killed the cliche, but there you are. So yeah, it was too weird for Sam Raimi. It was too weird for this. So anyway, Chris Wallace, W-A-L-A-S, Wayless, not like William Wayless. There you go. Like, yeah, Wayless. Did all the effects in The Fly Part 1, and then they're like, they gave him the ability to actually direct The Fly Part 2, but he wasn't legally allowed to work on the effects. However, he had his own production team, and so he hired them. So the effects are still as gooey and gruesome as the first one. Not as gruesome, but I mean, they're still gruesome, especially if you're scared of needles and shit. This movie's pretty fucking gruesome. There's a lot of needle play in this, and I do not like needles. If you're a fan of the show, you know it. Anyway, I can't believe that Chris actually turned down Steven Spielberg because he was actually supposed to be on the set of Gremlins 2, and he goes, I'd rather direct The Fly, which is pretty awesome. And seeing how it only got 33% at Rotten Tomatoes and 24% with the audience, maybe not the best answer, but I'm glad he did it. Anyway, however, he hated the original script. The original script, he said, was a kid's movie in his mind. It's about a boy trying to clone his father from his own genetics, and he keeps making these bug monsters, and they become like his sidekick. Kind of sounds lame. And then when he actually took it to a lot of other people going, dude, this is my script. Like, this is ridiculous. This is a kid's movie. Fuck this. Like, let's make this, like at least like the first one. So 20th Century Fox agreed, and I forgot exactly what the director's name was, but he's the dude that directed Shawshank Redemption, actually is the one that that actually wrote the script for this. Let me actually look that up like this. Shawshank Redemption. Let's see. Can't be Bob Gordon, could it? Well, let's see. Who wrote this fucking movie? Frank Darabont. There you go. Yeah, so anyway, Frank Darabont wrote this goddamn thing. And he also did other things like Green Mile. He wrote The Blob, believe it or not. I don't think he directed it, but I know he wrote it. He might have directed it, I don't know. But which, by the way, is also a 50s horror remake. It's funny, in the 80s, we got like these really good remakes. And when people go, oh, remakes suck, look at the 80s. But then again, it was a golden age of film. But fucking half the movies of even stuff like Terminator was not a remake, but a retelling of a Twilight Zone episode known as Glass Hands. So there's a lot of good stuff that came out in the 80s that were either borrowed or plagiarized. So you know what they say, though, geniuses, well, I said it earlier, geniuses steal and you know, the smart borrow, but geniuses steal. So there you go. Back to more fun facts. Okay. Oh yeah, John Getz is the only returning character, and he actually got to improvise some of his lines, like when he just yells at Martin not to sit in the chair. Oh, speaking of which, the main lead referred to himself as Martin, and even his actor's chair said Martin. He wanted everyone to call him Martin on set, and he kind of wanted to be that project boy, so that way he was like kind of standoffish, which I really do. I do kind of like those little like facts and twists and turns here. The footage where you see Seth talking about returning from the pod, that was actually not in the original Fly, and I thought that they filmed it for that, but no, they didn't. Especially that he looked a little bit younger, right? Well, it turns out that was the test footage for the movie, and they didn't use it in the Fly, the first Fly. Instead, they used the coffee shop scene where he's banging on the table, putting too much sugar in his coffee. Well, that was the alternate scene that was used for that, and they actually didn't use it, which is pretty awesome. So it actually finally got to see the light of day in this movie, which is pretty neat. Let's see. David Cronenberg even makes a cameo in a way, but not really. His book, The Shape of Rage, is actually seen when Martin's escaping. It's actually sitting on the desk of one of the security guards who's sleeping. So you can. It's funny that and I didn't notice that until I saw some fun facts about this. So again, thank you, Minty. I never would have noticed that, but now I'll notice it every time. Gina Davis actually turned down this role, and she was only going to be in the beginning anyway, because she hates birthing scenes. She thinks they're uncomfortable and gross and da-da-da, and she even hated the first one, and she said it was a deal breaker. If I'm going to be in this movie just to get birth and then die and whatever. Anyway, this movie also got an X rating due to the lift scene, and they just kept resubmitting it until it got an R, so awesome. Good for you. And also, there's an alternate ending, and there's actually two alternate scenes in this movie. One of them is when they're escaping from bar talk. They stop at like a burger stand, a burger joint, like a Dairy Queen kind of place, and all these little kids are making fun of Martin, who's in the car because he's deformed, and he like throws up his acidic vomit all over their car window, and it's supposed to be a humorous scene. I can see why they took it out because it makes it is a little funny. And then the ending. So if you guys know about this movie, you know that there's one thing about this movie that really is hard to watch, and my wife can't even watch it, and that's the dog scene. So in this movie, Martin, when he's a child, makes friends with these laboratory animals, and they're like Rottweilers, and one of them, he makes friends with this Rottweiler, and they're like, buddies and stuff, and it gets put through the telepod, and they don't know what the fuck they're doing, and it turns the dog inside out, but it's still living. And Martin finds out about it and actually goes and visits it, and basically puts it to sleep. It's one of the saddest scenes in like any movie. Like, really, if you think this movie doesn't have any heart or balls, this scene is pretty heavy. Anyway, the reason why I bring it up is because later on at the end of the movie was supposed to be that it's Beth and Martin after he cures himself, and she goes, "Are you feeling any better?" And he goes, I think I'm feeling better now. But then you see a fly like land on the food he's eating, and it kind of closes in. And everyone hated it because it's like, it's too, I don't know, you need a little tragedy there, right? So at the end, they actually take Bartok because of the experiment that he does in order to kill himself, requires another body. Anyway, I'll get into that in a second. And we see Bartok enter in like the dog and eat out of the same doggy bowl. And it's like, fuck yeah, justice. It's a really cool ending. And I really like it. So those are my fun facts. All right, let's get into it. So this movie got pandered, obviously, a 3 and a 24. I'm giving this a 76, and I'll tell you why 76. I would give it higher because it is a goddamn good movie. It's paced very well. The effects aren't as good as the first one, and it's got the name The Fly too. If this was its own original movie, this probably would have gotten a lot more. Because it is a sequel, you kind of get those down points. But I give it nostalgia points, and I give it like also points for the doggy. I think a 76 is good because I think it's like over 3/4 a movie great. There's really not any boring scenes in this movie. The movie's pacing is really, really. I think it's an hour and 46 minutes. It fucking flies by. We see the accelerated growth and rate of Martin. As at 5, he's 25, and at like 6 months, he's like 6. It's cool to see him grow. All the characters that portray him are very, very like close. Even like his hospital like room and everything else, and how he gets upgraded to his own apartment is really cool. I do love the whole magic word. Bartok gives him his own apartment, and he thinks like that he's not under prying eyes, but they're watching him fuck his girlfriend and all this other stuff. I even like the running scene when he starts like cocooning himself to like the couch and stuff, and he accepts his fate. Like this movie is really, really good. I definitely recommend it. Especially that you probably haven't seen it. Now, where can we watch The Fly 2? Because I know Jennifer's Body is free on a lot of stuff, but The Fly 2, let's see. I own it on DVD. I bought The Fly 1 and 2, and it also came with the Vincent Price 1 and 2, like a long time ago. Let's see. Oh, hey, just celebrated its streaming release birthday. Oh, it says box office 19.6, but I know it's more than that. Anyway, where to watch, where to stream. Ooh, is it not streaming anywhere? Interesting. So you might actually have to buy this movie, which, like I said, you might be able to get a, let's see, view all. Yeah, I think you're going to have to buy this. It probably is free on YouTube. Actually, I'm going to do you guys a favor and see if it is free on YouTube, because I have the ability to do YouTube. Let's see. See, this is why you watch my show. Or rather, listen. Full movie. Let's see. No, it doesn't look like you can find it. Anyway. Hey, this is kind of cool, though. I just found this. Jeff Goldblum deconstructs his iconic role in The Fly in the Hell and High Water podcast. That's pretty cool. Of course, it's someone else's podcast, and it's 6 minutes, but that might be something to watch later. Help me. By the way, the monster in The Fly 2 is really cool. I heard somebody say recently that The Fly 2 is more of a monster date movie, whereas The Fly 1 is like a gothic romantic horror deconstruction movie of body horror, rather, you know, kind of like the werewolf or like one of the Universal monsters in a way. Whereas The Fly 2 is a date movie. Everything does work out at the end, which it does. I'm not gonna lie, it actually has a happy ending, which is nice, seeing how the first one had one of the saddest fucking endings ever. This does have one of the saddest fucking parts, though, with the dog. Yeah, it's kind of a hard watch. But yeah, there you go. So anyway, my first alone double feature, Jennifer's Body and The Fly Part 2. I don't know if this is a great episode, if it's acceptable, but yeah, with no one else here and just watching a couple of movies and throwing this episode on the day, meaning it is 12:50 p.m. right now, and I prepared for this at 11. So there you go. All right, folks. Love you, be kind, rewind. And remember, if you can't tip, you can't taste.